This is going to be the second and final part of Act 2 of the Crucible. So where we left off last time was John and Elizabeth are having an argument about whether John Proctor should go to the courts and explain that Abigail told him the girls are faking. This is all just a big fraud. Proctor is dragging his feet because he's afraid that Abigail will eventually out him about the affair and that the whole town will know, and he's trying to save his own dignity, his own pride, and his wife's name. So he's dragging his feet about doing that. We learned that their servant, Mary Warren, has been gone all day, and because she has been in the courts as a testimony, as like a witness for this witchcraft trial. And she brings back news that there are 39 people accused now. At last count, there were only 14. So this startles Elizabeth and John. She also reveals that Elizabeth's name has been mentioned in court about her being a witch. And of course, Mary Warren says, "You owe me now because I stood up for your wife and cleared her name in court and said that, she couldn't possibly be doing anything wrong." So now we're realizing that Mary Warren is exerting herself and being a more powerful, being a more assertive character in the play. Remember at the very beginning, she was kind of like the third wheel in the Abigail, Mercy Lewis triangle, and she kind of didn't really stand up for herself. She wanted to tell the truth to begin with, and now she is living in a world where women don't have a lot of voice, women don't have a lot of power, and now she's getting all of this attention and all of this power through the witchcraft trials, and so this has kind of sparked a change in her. All right, so where we left off, they're having an argument about Proctor going to town. He's about to leave, and quite suddenly, as though from thin air, a figure appears in the doorway, and they start slightly. It's Mr. Hale. He's different now, a little drawn, and there's a quality of deference or even guilt about his manner now. All right, so that is where we're going to pick up.
Why, Mr. Hale, good evening, sir. Come in, come in. I hope I do not startle you.
Oh, no. It's only that I heard no horse.
You are Goodwife Proctor. I, Elizabeth. I hope you are not off to bed yet. No. We are not used to visitors after dark, but you are welcome, sir. Won't you sit you down? I will. Let you sit, Goodwife Proctor. Will you drink cider, Mr. Hale? No. No, it rebels my stomach. And I have some further traveling yet tonight. Sit you down, sir. I will not keep you long, but I do have some business with you. Business of the court? No. I come of my own without the court's authority. Hear me. I know not whether you are aware, sir, but your wife's name is mentioned in the court. Aye, we know it. How Mary Warren told us. We are entirely amazed. I am a stranger here, sir, as you know. And in my ignorance, I find it hard to draw a clear opinion of them that come accused before the court. And so this afternoon, and now tonight, I go from house to house. I come now from Rebecca Nurse's house.
Rebecca's charged?
God forbid such a one should be charged. She is, however, mentioned somewhat.
Oh, you will never believe, I hope, that Rebecca trafficked with the devil.
Woman, it is possible. Surely you cannot think it. This is a strange time, mister. No man may longer doubt that the powers of the dark are gathered in monstrous attack upon this village. There is now too much evidence in the court to deny it. You will agree, sir? I have no knowledge in that line, but I find it hard to believe. So pious a woman be secretly the devil's bitch after 70 years of such good prayer. Aye, but the devil is a wily one. You cannot deny it. However, she is far from accused, and I know she will not be. I thought, sir, to put some questions as to the Christian character of this house, if you will permit me. Why, we have no fear of questions, sir. Good, then. In the book of record that Mr. Paris keeps, I note that you are rarely in the church on the Sabbath day.
No, sir, you are mistaken.
26 time in 17 months, sir. I must call that rare. Will you tell me why you are so absent?
Mr. Hale, I never knew I must account to that man whether I come to church or stay at home. My wife were ill this winter.
So I am told. But you, mister, why could you not come alone?
I surely did come when I could, and when I could not, I prayed in this house.
Mr. Proctor, your house is not a church. Your theology must tell you that.
Aye, it does. And it tells me that a minister may pray to God without he have golden candlesticks upon the altar.
What golden candlesticks?
Since we built this church, there were pewter candlesticks upon the altar. Francis' nurse made them, and a sweeter hand never touched the metal. Then Paris came. And for 20 weeks he preached nothing but golden candlesticks until he had them. I labor the earth from dawn of day till blink of night, and I tell you true, sir, when I look to heaven and see my money glaring at his elbows, it hurt my prayer, sir. It hurt my prayer. I think sometimes a man dreams cathedrals, not clapboard meeting houses.
And yet, mister, a Christian on Sabbath day must be in church. Tell me, you have 3 children.
Aye. Boys.
How comes it that only 2 are baptized?
I like it not that Mr. Parrish should lay his hand upon my baby. I'll not conceal it. I see no light of God in that man.
Mr. Proctor, I must say it. That is not for you to decide. The man is ordained. Therefore, the light of God is in him.
What's your suspicion, Mr. Hale?
No.
I nailed the roof upon the church. I hung the door.
Oh, did you? That's a good sign, then.
It may be that I've been too quick to bring the man to book, but you cannot think we ever desired the destruction of religion. I think that's in your mind, is it not?
All right, so let me stop here and just point out a few things. So Reverend Hale has come to the Proctor house as an objective observer. Remember, he is in the town in order to give the town a second opinion on whether this is true witchcraft afoot in the village. So he is going house to house to all the women who have been accused of witchcraft, and he wants to make his own assessment. So he goes to the family and he starts asking questions like, why have you not been to church? Because, obviously if you worship Satan, you probably aren't going to be at church. And so he's calling them out on that. And John Proctor gives a very unpopular reason, okay? And that is, well, first, his first reason was that my wife's been sick, and so we haven't been out because we don't, we care about her health. And so he says, well, you still need to come to church. Your wife can stay home, but you still need to go. And he's like, okay, well, I'll be real honest with you. I can't stand Reverend Paris. I see no light of God in that man, okay? And he doesn't like Paris for a myriad of reasons, but the reason that he gives Reverend Hale is that, this guy's money hungry. He preaches all the time about how he wants golden candlesticks for their altar or their church, right? And he says, I work too hard and I make too little money as a farmer to give all the money that I have to the church just so that he could buy some golden candlesticks. Like, I just don't feel like the man is in it for the right reasons. Now, that's a very unpopular opinion in Puritanism because they believed that the minister was ordained by God, meaning handpicked by God. And so therefore, if you were ordained a minister, you were pretty much untouchable. You were infallible. You could not be wrong. And so Reverend Hale stops him because, Reverend Hale's also a minister and says, whoa. You can't say that. God chose this man. So even though Proctor, Proctor's just being brutally honest here, he is not ashamed of his beliefs and he is willing to say how he really feels about Paris, even though it's a very unpopular answer. Okay.
There is a softness in your record, sir. A softness.
I think maybe we have been too hard on Mr. Paris. I think so. But sure, we never loved the devil here.
Do you know your commandments, Elizabeth?
I surely do. There be no mark of blame upon my life. I am a covenanted Christian woman.
And you, mister?
I'm sure I do.
Let you repeat them, if you will.
The commandments.
Aye.
Thou shalt not kill.
Aye.
Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's goods, nor make unto thee any graven image. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord in vain. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. Thou shalt honor thy father and mother. Thou shalt not bear false witness. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image.
You have said that twice, sir.
Aye.
Adultery, John.
You see, sir, between the two of us, we do know them all. I think it be a small fault.
Theology, sir, is a fortress. No crack in a fortress may be accounted small.
There be no love for Satan in this house, mister.
I pray it. I pray it dearly. Well then, I'll bid you good night.
Mr. Hale, I think you be suspecting me somewhat, are you not?
Goody Proctor, I do not judge you. My duty is to add what I may to the godly wisdom of the court. I pray you both good health and good
I
fortune.
think you must tell him, John.
What's that?
Will you tell him?
I have no witness and cannot prove it except my word be taken, but I know the children.
Okay, let me stop here and just kind of recount what just happened. So this is a scene of either dramatic irony or situational irony, okay? Remember, dramatic irony is when the audience knows more than the characters in the play do. And situational irony is when you expect one thing to happen and something else happens instead. Okay, and in this instance, John is given a test. Okay, and remember, this was another way that they tested for witchcraft. If you could recite your 10 Commandments flawlessly, then obviously you were a child of God. If you couldn't, clearly you had the devil in you. Okay, so John is able to list all 9 of 10 Commandments, and he forgets one. The most obvious one, the one that he should remember more than anything, and that is thou shalt not commit adultery. And adultery is having an affair. Obviously, he had an affair with Abigail. So there's the irony. We know the one that he is missing and why it is so significant. Reverend Hale does not. Okay, so that makes it dramatic irony. Situational irony, obviously, we feel that's the first commandment that he should be, that he should recall because it's the one that he's offended. But it's the one that he forgets, okay? And that makes it situational. All right, so Elizabeth speaks up at the very end. Hale is about to leave, and she wants to stop him so that John can go ahead and confess about this whole Abigail thing and what he knows, okay?
Children's sickness had naught to do with witchcraft.
Not to do with witchcraft.
Mr. Paris discovered them sporting in the woods. They were startled and took sick.
Who told you this?
Abigail Williams.
Abigail.
Aye.
Abigail Williams told you it had not to do with witchcraft.
She told me the day you came, sir.
Why? Why did you keep this?
I did not know until tonight that the world had gone daft with this nonsense.
Nonsense, mister. I have myself examined Tituba and Sarah Good and numerous others that have confessed themselves to dealing with the devil. They have confessed it.
And why not if they be hanged for denying it? There are them that will swear to anything before they'll hang. Have you never thought of that?
I have. I have indeed. And you? Would you testify to this in the court?
I had not reckoned on going to court, but if I must, I will.
Do you falter here?
I falter nothing. I may wonder if my story be credited in such a court. I do wonder on it. When such a steady-minded minister as yourself would suspicion such a woman who never lied and cannot, and the world knows she cannot. I may falter somewhat, mister. I am no fool.
Proctor, let you open with me now. For I have a rumor that troubles me. It is said that you hold no belief that there may even be witches in the world. Is that true?
I know not what I have said. I may have said it. I have wondered if there be witches in the world, although I cannot believe they come among us now.
Then you do not believe.
I have no knowledge in it. The Bible speaks of witches. I will not deny them.
And you, woman?
I cannot believe it.
You cannot.
Elizabeth, you bewilder.
I cannot think the devil may own a woman's soul, Mr. Hale, when she keeps an upright way, as I have. I am a good woman, I know it. And if you think that I may do only good work in the world and yet be secretly bound to Satan, then I must tell you, sir, I do not believe it.
But, woman, you do believe there are witches
If
in
you
the
think
world?
that I am one, then I say there are none.
You surely do not fly against the gospel.
She believed the gospel, every word.
Question Abigail Williams about the gospel, not myself.
She did not mean to doubt the gospel, sir. You cannot think it. This is a Christian house, sir. A Christian house.
God keep you both. Let the third child be quickly baptized, and go you without fail each Sunday into Sabbath prayer, and keep a solemn, quiet way among you. I think...
All right. So I wanted to stop here because this is one of your questions on the study guide. So Hale asks, again, he's still testing Elizabeth and John to see if they could be witches. And so he asks them one last question. He says, "Do you believe in witches?" And John is like, "You know what? Not really." And this is a very unpopular thing, because the Puritans believed that in order for there to be God and good in the world, then there also has to be evil and the devil, and witchcraft is part of the devil. And if you believe in one, you have to believe in both. So this is a very unpopular answer, but he says, you know what? I personally do not believe in witches. I've never seen witches. I don't have any proof, but if the Bible says they exist, then I'm not going to deny the Bible. And he asks Elizabeth, do you believe in witches? And Elizabeth is like, you know what? Not really. And because the women that you're accusing of being witches, I can't say that a woman like Rebecca that I know already can pray and be a good woman her whole life and then turn out to be a witch. So these are two very unpopular. This is a very unpopular answer. And despite that, Hale, when he leaves, even though he doesn't agree with their answers, he thinks, you know what, this family has been too honest. They didn't tell me what I just wanted to hear. They've been too honest and put themselves out there. So I believe them. I feel like they're telling the truth. So notice when Hale turns to leave, he says, listen, go get your third child baptized. Go to church every Sunday from now on and keep quiet, lay low, and hopefully this whole thing will pass you by. In that moment, Hale is verifying to the proctors and to us as the reader that the proctors are innocent in his own opinion. Okay. All right, so now Giles and Francis Nurse are about to enter. Remember, Francis is a man, Giles is a man. They are both old, respected men in the community.
John,
Giles, what's the matter?
they take my wife. And his Rebecca.
Rebecca's in the jail.
Aye. Cheever come and take her in his wagon. We've only now come from the jail and they won't even let us in to see them.
They've surely gone wild now, Mr. Hale.
Reverend Hale, cannot you speak to the deputy governor? I'm sure he mistakes these
Pray
people.
calm yourself, Mr.
My
Nurse.
wife, sir, my wife is the very brick and mortar of the church. And Martha Corey, there cannot be a woman closer yet to God than Martha.
How is Rebecca charged, Mr. Nurse?
For murder she's charged. For the marvelous and supernatural murder of Goody Putnam's babies. What am I to do, Mr. Hale?
Believe me, Mr. Nurse, if Rebecca Nurse be tainted, then there's nothing left to stop the whole green world from burning. Let you rest upon the justice of the court. The court will send her home, I know it.
You cannot mean that she will be tried in court!
Nurse, though our hearts break, we cannot flinch. These are new times, sir. There is a misty plot afoot, so subtle that we should be criminal were we to cling to old respects and ancient friendships now. I have seen too many frightful proofs of it in the court. The devil is alive in Salem, and we dare not quail to follow wherever the accusing finger points.
How may such a woman murder children?
Man, remember that until an hour before the devil fell, God thought him beautiful in heaven.
I never said my wife were a witch, Mr. Hale. I only said she were reading books.
Mr. Corey, exactly what complaint were made against your wife?
That bloody mongrel Walcott charger. You see, he buy a pig of my wife 4 or 5 years ago, and the pig died soon after. So he comes dancing in for his money back. So my Martha, she says to him, Walcott, if you haven't the wit to feed a pig properly, you'll not live to own many, she says. Now he goes to court and claims that from that day to this, he cannot keep a pig alive for more than 4 weeks because my Martha bewitched them with her books.
Good evening to you, Proctor.
All right, so let me
I'm-
stop right here. Okay, so Giles, okay, so just remember that Hale, when he came to come see Elizabeth and John Proctor, he said he had just left Rebecca Nurse's house. Remember, he's making his way from house to house to kind of evaluate these people on independently and make his own objective decision whether or not these women are involved in witchcraft. So he just left Rebecca Nurse's house, and while he's visiting John and Elizabeth, the court comes and arrests Rebecca Nurse. Okay, so this should cue you in as the reader that Reverend Hale, even though he's come in to give his own assessment of the situation, nobody's listening to him. Okay, when men in power want something to be done a certain way, or they want to see something, they're going to see what they want to see, and they want to see witchcraft. And so you can tell that they haven't consulted with Reverend Hale. They're just sort of locking people up. Okay. Here comes Ezekiel Cheever. Now, Ezekiel Cheever's a new character. He is like an official of the court. He's an arresting officer. He comes, he can serve warrants and arrest people. All right.
Mr. Cheever, good evening.
Good evening, all. Good evening, Mr. Hale.
I hope you come not on business of the court.
I do, Proctor. I'm the clerk of the court now, you know.
It's a pity, Ezekiel, that an honest tailor might have gone to heaven must burn in hell. You'll burn for this, do you know it?
Now, you know yourself. I must do as I'm told, Giles. You surely know that. And I'd as lief you'd not be sending me to hell. I like not the sound of it. I tell you, I like not the sound of it. Now, believe me, Proctor, how heavy be the law, all its tonnage I do carry on my back tonight. I have a warrant for your wife.
You said you were not charged.
I know nothing of it. When was she charged? I'm given 16 warrant tonight, sir. She's one.
Who charged her?
Why, Abigail Williams charged her.
On what proof? What proof?
Mr. Proctor, I've little time. The court bid me to search your house, but I like not to search a house. So if you'll just hand me any puppets that your wife may keep here.
Puppet?
Why, I never kept no puppets, not since I were a girl.
I spy a puppet, Goody Proctor.
Oh, why, that's Mary's.
Would you please to give it to me?
Court discovered a text in puppets now?
Do you keep any others in this house?
No, this one neither till tonight. What signifies a puppet?
Why, a puppet. A puppet may signify... Now, woman, will you please to come with me?
She will not. Fetch Mary here.
No, I'm forbidden to leave her from my sight.
You leave her out of sight and out of mind, mister! Fetch Mary, Elizabeth.
What signifies a puppet, Mr. Cheever? Why? They say it may signify that... Why this?
What's there? What is
Well, why? It's a needle. Herrick! It is a needle.
What signifies a needle?
Why, this go hard with her, Proctor. This... I had my doubts, Proctor. I had my doubts, but here's calamity. You see it, sir? It is a needle.
Why? What meaning has it?
The girl, the Williams girl. Abigail Williams, sir. She sat to dinner tonight in Reverend Parris's house, and without word nor warning, she falls to the floor, like a struck beast, he says, and screamed a scream a bull would weep to hear. And he goes to save her, and stuck 2 inches in the flesh of her belly, he draw a needle out, and demanding of her how she come to be so stabbed, she testify it were your wife's familiar spirit push it in.
Why, she done it herself. I hope you'll not be taking this for proof, mister.
All right, so let me stop here. So remember how when Mary Warren came back from court, she gave Elizabeth Proctor this doll that she had sewn herself while she was waiting to testify, right? And it was even if you read the side notes, and it's really important, I just want to point out, make sure that you are following along with the text so that you can read all this italicized stage direction, because it's really important. A lot of details are given there. So when she gives her the doll, Elizabeth thinks it's kind of bizarre. Why is this girl giving me a doll? But she takes it and she puts it on her mantle and doesn't think anything of it. And then just like 30 minutes later, here comes the arresting officer to bring Elizabeth to jail. And what they think it is a voodoo doll, right? So the doll is supposed to be made in the image of Abigail Williams. And when they take the doll off the shelf, they're bringing it to the court for evidence, and they just happen to like lift up the dress that's on the doll, and inside the stomach of the doll is the needle. All right. Well, Mary Warren probably put the needle there for safekeeping when she was finished sewing it, right? However, they see that as a voodoo doll, and a voodoo doll is like, you make the doll in the likeness of your enemy, and you stick the pins in places, and it will, transfer over to the actual person and make them injured in those places as well. Okay, so that's the idea behind a voodoo doll. And so apparently at dinner, Abigail Williams doubled over and then pulled a 2-inch long needle out of her stomach, and it came from Elizabeth Proctor, right? She blames it on her. And, Elizabeth warned John, this is going to happen. She's going to do her best to get rid of me somehow, some way. John didn't believe her, and lo and behold, here it is. All right.
'Tis hard proof. I find here a poppet Goody Proctor keeps. I have found it, sir. And in the belly of the poppet a needle is stuck. I tell you true, Proctor, I never warranted to see such proof of hell, and I bid you obstruct me not.
Yes, now, Mary, how did this puppet come into my house?
Well, what puppet's that, sir?
This puppet.
Well, I think it's mine.
It is your puppet, is it?
It is, sir.
And how did it come into this house?
I made it in the court, sir, and give it to Goody Proctor tonight.
Now, sir, do you have it?
Mary Warren, a needle had been found inside this puppet.
Well, I meant no harm by it, sir.
You stuck it in yourself.
I believe I did, sir.
And what say you now?
Child, are you certain this be your natural memory? May it be perhaps that someone conjures you even now to say this?
Conjures me? Why, no, sir. I'm entirely myself, I think. Let you ask Susanna Walcott. She saw me sewing it in court. Ask Abby. Abby sat beside me when I made it.
Bid him out, Mr. Hale. Surely your mind is settled now. Bid him be gone.
What signifies a needle?
Mary, you charge a cold and cruel murder on Abigail.
Murder? I charge no...
Abigail was stabbed tonight. A needle was found stuck into her belly.
And she charges me?
Aye.
Why, the girl is murder. She must be ripped out of the world.
You heard that, sir? Ripped out of the world. Herrick, you heard it.
Out of my house.
Proctor, you dare not touch the
Out!
Man, you've ripped the deputy governor's warrant.
Damn the deputy governor out of my house!
Now,
All right, so let me just point out here some important things that are happening really fast, okay? So Mary Warren innocently admits to, yeah, I sewed that doll. She has nothing to hide. And then she says, anybody could see me. I sewed it with myself. I put the pin there. Ask, who does she say? Ask Susanna Walcott. Ask Abby. She was sitting right beside me. And there it is. Abigail Williams saw her sewing this doll and uses that to and she probably puts it in Mary Warren's mind. Now, it's not said in the book, but I can see it happening in my mind, that she tells Mary Warren, go ahead and give this to Elizabeth. It'll be a gift. It'll cheer her up, right? And so she uses this to kind of frame the whole situation. So this is all Abigail's doing. And then when Elizabeth says, oh, that girl is murder, she must be ripped out of the world, meaning Elizabeth has reason to dislike Abigail. And when Cheever hears that, he only knows half the story. And so he twists those words around and takes it as like an obvious death threat, okay, to just make Elizabeth seem even more guilty than she already is. And then this is very important. Again, it's all in the side notes that you need to be following along with. Proctor snatches the warrant out of Cheever's hands and tears it up. Okay? All right. Make sure that you know that.
Proctor,
You're a broken minister.
Proctor, if she is innocent,
If she is innocent! Why do you never wonder if Paris be innocent or Abigail? Is the accuser always holy now? Were they born this morning as clean as God's fingers? I'll tell you what's walking Salem. Vengeance is walking Salem. We are what we always were in Salem, only now the crazy little children are jangling the keys of the kingdom, and common vengeance writes the law. This warrant's vengeance. I'll not give my wife to vengeance.
I'll go, John.
You'll not go.
I have 9 men outside. You cannot keep her. The law binds me, John. I cannot budge.
Will you see her taken?
Proctor, the court is just. You must...
Pontius Pilate. God will not let you wash your hands of this.
John, I think I must go with them. Mary, there is bread enough for the morning. You will bake in the afternoon. Help Mr. Proctor, as you were his daughter. You owe me that and much more. When the children wake, speak nothing of witchcraft. It will frighten them.
I'll bring you home. I'll bring you soon.
Oh, John, bring me soon.
I will fall like an ocean on that court. Fear nothing, Elizabeth.
I will fear nothing. Tell the children I have gone to visit someone sick.
All right, Eric, put her away.
All right, over there. Eric! Eric!
John.
You don't chain her! Damn you, man, you'll not chain her! Off with him, I'll not have it! I'll not have her chained!
And yet silent, minister. It is fraud. You know it is fraud. What keeps you, man?
Eric, I will pay you. I will surely pay you!
In God's name, John, I cannot help myself. I must chain them all. Now let you keep inside this house until I am gone. Mr. Proctor, out of my sight. Charity, Proctor, charity. What I have heard in her favor, I will not fear to testify in the court. God help me, I cannot judge her guilty or innocent. I know not. Only this consider. The world goes mad, and it profit nothing that you should lay the cause of it to the vengeance of a little girl.
You are a coward. Though you be ordained in God's own tears, you are a coward now.
Proctor, I cannot think God be provoked so grandly by such a petty cause. The jails are packed. Our greatest judges sit in Salem now, and hanging's promised. Man, we must look to cause proportionate. With them murder done, perhaps, and never brought to light. Abomination. Some secret blasphemy that stinks to heaven. Think on cause, man, and let you help me to discover it. For there's your way, believe me, there's your only way when such confusion strikes upon the world. Let you counsel among yourselves. Think on your village, and what may have drawn from heaven such thundering wrath upon you all. I shall pray God open up our eyes.
I never heard no murder done in Salem.
Leave me, Francis. Leave me.
John, tell me, are we lost?
Go home now. Giles will speak on it tomorrow.
We'll let you think on it. We'll come early, huh?
Go now, Giles.
Oh, good night, then.
Mr. Proctor? Very likely they'll let her come home once they're given proper evidence.
Mary Warren, you will come to the court with me. You'll tell it in the court.
I cannot charge murder on Abigail.
You'll tell the court how that puppet come here and who stuck that needle into it.
She'll kill me for saying that.
Mary,
Abby'll charge lechery on you, Mr. Proctor.
she's told you.
I've known it, sir. She'll ruin you with it. I know she will.
Good. And her saintliness is done with. We'll slide together into our pit. You will tell the court what you know.
I cannot. They'll turn on me. No!
My wife will never die for me. I will bring your guts into your mouth, but that goodness will never die for me. Now make your peace. Now hell and heaven grapple on our backs, and all our old pretense is ripped away. Make your peace. Peace. It is a providence and no great change. We are what we always were, only naked now. Aye, naked. And the wind, God's icy wind, will blow.
I cannot.
Aye.
I cannot.
All right. So that is the end of Act 2. And I just want to kind of point you to a couple of important things. First of all, let's talk about the word lechery. Mary Warren says, she'll kill me for saying that. Abby will charge lechery on you, Mr. Proctor. So I just want to show you the control that Abigail has over Mary Warren. Mary Warren did not hesitate to stand up to Mr. and Mrs. Proctor. She told John Proctor, you won't talk to me that way. You won't hit me anymore or whip me anymore. She said, you won't tell me when I should go to bed or what I should do. And you can't tell me I can't go to Salem and be a part of the trials because I'm going to anyway. So she stands up to a man in Salem during 1600s. Okay, so that's pretty rare. However, she's terrified of Abigail Williams. And so she even points out, Abigail will charge you with lechery, Mr. Proctor. And the word lechery means like sexual misconduct, right? She knows if John Proctor goes to the court and outs Abigail as a liar, Abigail will tell the whole town about the affair. And Proctor's like, good. I don't care. She's already told you, meaning the secret's already out. I don't know why I thought I could keep an affair like this a secret. People are going to find out eventually. And she says she will ruin you, and then she goes, you know what? If she ruins me, then it will ruin her as well. Then her saintliness is done with. Meaning, like if Abigail outs me for the affair, she's also condemning herself too, and there will be a blight on her reputation as well that will follow her for the rest of her life, just as it would me. And Proctor's like, we are going to the court. We're going to set the record straight. We're going to call all of this what it is, a big scam. And then because my wife is not going to die for my misconduct, okay? So because he knows this is all of his fault. Go back just a little bit more when Hale is saying, Proctor, I don't understand why what is happening. He said, man, we must look for a proportionate cause. Was there a murder done? Maybe an abomination, maybe some secret blasphemy that stinks to heaven. Think about what's causing this, man, because we have to discover it. Otherwise, there's no way for me to convince people. Basically, what Hale is saying is like, what is the motivation for these girls to be lying? I can't find it out. If you can't find it out either, then we have nothing to stand on. We have to figure out what their motivation is. And that's when it clicks with John. The whole motivation for these girls lying and for accusing people of being witches is because Abigail really does want to get rid of Elizabeth. Okay. All right. So we're going to stop here. Let me just sort of remind you of some of the takeaways from Act 2. Marshall Herrick is a new character. He's the sheriff of Salem. Ezekiel Cheever's a new character. He's an officer of the court. He's the one who serves the warrants and arrests people. Mary Warren's character changes and she becomes a more assertive, a more powerful character. She stands up to John and Elizabeth and tells them what she will and she will not do. However, I'm so sorry. It doesn't take away from the fact that she's still terrified of Abigail Williams. All right, another thing is that the poppet becomes very critical in the story. This is what is the undoing for the Proctor family, okay? This is the evidence that kind of really tells the court what they want to hear and shows Elizabeth's guilt. And remember, the poppet was akin to like a voodoo doll, or that's how they saw it anyway. And then last but not least, let's not forget this is all John Proctor's fault. If he hadn't had the affair, if he hadn't have, fallen into Abigail Williams' trap, if he hadn't tried to cover up the affair, if he would have just been out with it at the very beginning, he would have had nothing to hide, and now his wife is going to end up paying for his misdeeds. All right.